everyone, so today on BKRsport, we are back here for another one of our team reviews for the 2023 NRL season. We're going to be going through some of the positives, some of the negatives, some of the plays that we've seen come out, how they've been basically looking in 2023 as a whole, because although you do see these teams down the bottom end of the table who may not have done a great deal well in regards to the actual results, it doesn't mean they aren't building for the future, it doesn't mean they don't have players there, and there are positive signs going forward. However, we do want to really look at 2023 as a whole and see exactly how it unfolded. It's been a big year where we have seen a lot of teams improve, but we also have seen a lot of teams stay stagnant and then a lot of teams regress. But today, we're going to be going into my team, the Gold Coast Titans, who this year, look, it's a really strange year. It's actually probably one of the biggest what-if years that you could see for a club. It's a really, really difficult one to read because there were a lot of positives within this team, but there were also a lot of negatives as well. There is obviously the good signs going forward with Desi Hasler coming into the team. You know, the women's team has now made the grand final, so hopefully they can obviously translate their success into the men's team and that can filter through. But on a whole, in 2023, it was a bit of a tough year to be a Gold Coast Titans fan with a couple of the results that were obviously coming our way. Now, obviously, they were 13th last year and 13th this year. So, technically, they were stagnant. Technically, they did nothing to improve on last year. But if you actually look into it, we all know that there is a much different story that goes into that. Especially when you look at the fact that they've got 8 wins this year compared to 6 wins of last year. So they did actually improve on what they did last year. It's just that the tumultuous situation that surrounded Justin Holbrook obviously getting sacked, we all know about, and we'll get into in a second, the second half fade-outs that completely derailed this season from the start effectively. There was so much that went off the field this year that was really hard to build momentum. And then when you start to see them build momentum, then you've got the Tino and David contract issues there due to the sacking of Justin Holbrook. And it was just a very, very up and down year on the field and definitely off the field as well. Coming into 2023 though, we did have that vibe and that feeling that we were going to put 2022 behind us. We thought that was an awful year. That was a way worse year than this year, FYI. Way worse. Not even debatable there. But we came into this year thinking that was behind us and we're really going to push forward. You know, we did have the names on the paper, you know, we had the ability and we thought we were going to push back into the top 8, which is what we saw in 2021. However, as you'll see here, we threw away that many halftime leads. It was incredible. It was up until like the Raiders game, which is debatable as well, but it was up until the Raiders game. The Titans hadn't lost a first half all season. Legitimately, they were like undefeated through the first half of the season. It was crazy. But yeah, they blew halftime leads against the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Knights, the Bulldogs, the Rabbitohs, all in a 9-game span. And to add on to this, we all know about the 26-0 lead after like 34 minutes against the Dolphins before they completely fell apart. A game that, for me, I pretend definitely didn't happen. So it was very, very hard to establish any kind of firm grip on where we were as a team when we were this amazing team in the first half competing against the best teams in the comp, but then completely and utterly throwing everything away in the second half due to whether it be fatigue or mindset or I don't believe its ability, because the ability is shown in the first half. So it just came down to a lack of cohesion from being able to really put together a full 80 minutes. And ultimately, you look back at that and you say, that's what the demise of Justin Holbrook was. That's why he left. You know, we're all shocked and surprised at the time of it happening. But if you go back and have a look at it, I think he's got a win percentage around the 30% mark throughout the 3 seasons he was on the Gold Coast. I love Justin. You know, I had a great relationship with Justin as a bloke. He's an amazing human being. But it does seem now, looking back on it, in hindsight, that was definitely the right decision to part ways with Justin and move on. And again, like I said, Desi Hasler's coming in next year, which does show stability is incoming, which does show that this club is going into another rebuild, but more of a tinkering rebuild. Not like a complete have to blow up the team and start again. They just have to tinker it because they've got the attack here. Especially when you've got guys like Alofiana Khan-Pereira, who had a breakout season, man. He broke the club record 17 tries in his debut season. Ended up on 20 tries, I believe it was. Yeah, 20 on debut, which beat out David Fafita from a couple of years ago where he got 17. So that is a really, really positive sign there for Alofiana Khan-Pereira. And look, many individual players actually had decent seasons. I wouldn't say that individually these players didn't really have good years in total, but just simply as a collective this year with all the tumultuous up and downs, it never came together for the full 80. Overall, this team is super young. When you've got guys like Tino Fa'asuamaleaui and David Fifita as your two best players who are around the 24, 25 years old range, you know you're in really good stead. You know, the AJ Brimdog millionaire in the fullback, we don't know if we want him there or Jaden Campbell there. And then there's Keanu Kinney, who's also having a bit of a breakout year this year in the Q Cup, the Host Plus Cup with the Burleigh Bears. And then also got his opportunity against really tough teams in the NRL, like the Panthers, like the Rabbitohs, like the Warriors. These kind of teams is where he really got to try and make his mark against, which is very, very difficult, obviously. But the point of the matter is that the fullback depth is absolutely there. You know, the wingers are there. Philip Sami had a breakout year as well, like a return breakout year. Was quiet for a little bit in the last couple of years, but then has really broken out again. So the wingers are there. You know, the centers are probably a little bit of an issue, but they've re-signed Brian Kelly. I know that Shuppy didn't exactly have his greatest year, but I know that under Desi, he could really work well under a Desi-style coaching system. He really could. He could be in for a big year next year. You go to the halves. Kieran Foran had a fantastic year for this club. You know, he's getting on now, and we do need to start thinking about the future, but he's going to be great underneath Desi Hasler, who we worked with at Manly. Obviously, Desi Hasler won multiple premierships there with Manly, and Kieran Foran was a part of that, right? So, look, really intrigued to see how Foster goes underneath him. I think Tanner Boyd and Kieran work well together. Then on number 9, Sammy Verrill's obviously injured throughout most of this season, but we all know he's an incredibly underrated hooker. You know, it's just as simple as that. The front row pairing of Tina Fa'asuamaleaui, Moeaki Fodawaker, and Jimmy Jolliffe, well, they're three really, really top-tier front rowers. The back rowers, we had Bowie Firma, who missed the entirety of the season. Can you imagine Bowie Firma and David Fifita going off each other in the back row? Unbelievable. The 13 is a bit of an issue, a little bit of an issue there. Do we go Isaac Liu, who's coming to the end of his career now? You know, you got Aaron Clark there. You know, you've got Jacob Arlett coming up through the Burleigh Bear system too, has Papua New Guinea international experience as well as a lock. So there is a lot of positive signs here. It really is just about piecing it together. And who better than to have a guy like Desi Hasler, who has pieced it together before in another club, and is the first premiership winning coach to actually come to the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast Titans have never had a coach who has a premiership to their name in the NRL. Justin Holbrook had a premiership in the Super League, but there was no NRL premiership proven coach that has been at the Gold Coast Titans. So it's extremely exciting. But in regards to a rating, I do have to bring it down a little bit. I've got to be realistic with you guys. I've got to be honest with you guys. I will give this season a D+. Right, so it's still a failed season. It definitely still is. You know, the D right there represents it wasn't good enough. We need more. We need to see this team do better in 2024. It's not a can we please or may we. It needs to happen. We've had a long-standing history of being unsuccessful. So it's getting to that point now where that frustration is really starting to kind of hound in on the fans and say, we need to see more from this team. We know we've got the team here, so actually put it together and show us what we can provide and what we can do, right? And again, we're building towards it, but we've also been in basically a constant rebuild since 2010 when the Titans made the preliminary final after beating the Warriors in the first week. And that was the first and only win that the Titans have had in the finals in their history, right? So it's very difficult to be a Titans fan, but you just got to have that hope and belief. But again, 2024, we need to see more. There's no excuses now. Desi Hasler comes in, proven premiership winning coach. They've got basically an entire 4-pack that can play for Queensland. The back line is explosive. We've seen that with the amount of points that they're able to put on in games this season. Desi brings that defensive-minded thought process. Jimmy Lenahan sticks with the club as a very similar kind of coach. He was the interim coach whilst Justin Holbrook was sacked and Desi Hasler came in. I'm telling you, I'm really excited about this team going forward. And that's why I've got that plus there, because they did show enough there. But it is still, unfortunately, a D+ for the season. But that is going to do us here for this review, guys. Obviously, comment down below what your thoughts were of the Gold Coast Titans. Whether you're a Titans fan or not, please provide your thoughts. If you think I'm being biased, feel free to call me up on it. But I think I've been pretty fair here today. I've told you guys the negatives that have been there, but also the positives that have been there. And I'm going to be there next season. I'm going to be there every season. You know, I'm going to be in the grand final this week for the women's team. You know, I'm always there, man. I'll always be there. I'll always support this team. I'm passionate about the community of the Gold Coast, and I just want to see our fans get a bit of respite and a bit of happiness for once in their life. And I'll keep on fighting the good battle until that day comes, and even after that day comes. You know, I just love the Gold Coast. But I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, subscribe if you are new around here. I appreciate you as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See you later.